So
Sure.
the people who don't know you,
Yes.
if you can tell us a bit of your background.
Sure, sure. I graduated from National University of Iran. I got my bachelor's in computer science. I got my master's from Sharif University of Tehran, which is like the best university in Iran.
Yeah.
And then I went to US and I got my PhD from Syracuse University. That's really good university in New York State. And during my bachelor and also my master thesis and my PhD, was doing was artificial intelligence. So from the beginning, I was interested in AI, and that's what I pursued. My master thesis was an intelligent advisor.
Okay.
So he could actually advise the students what subjects to take, what subjects not to take, and this sorts of thing. And it was back then, like 1986 or something, that we didn't really have that many PCs and things like that. So most of things you had to actually type in small consoles that they were connected to mini computers to work with it. And I did quite interesting things in that one. I used special theories from theory of computing from these mathematical machines and things like that for developing this. In my PhD, I worked on smart information retrieval, intelligent information retrieval, which basically it was a system who was reasoning about questions that user would ask. So you could ask him that what should I, for example, read for this? What article is closest to this topic? And it would actually use a theory called human plausible reasoning to actually reason about that articles would be interested to you, what topics you should be reading, and this sort of thing, which was quite different than what other people at the time were doing. And it was interesting, it was well received in the community at the time. And after that, I started working for a research company in US, and we were working on natural language processing, AI-based systems, very intelligent systems for example, searching patents and things like that.
What was the name of the company?
It was TextWise.
Okay, that's a very nice name.
Yeah, because it was all text-based. It was one of the very early companies who only concentrated on natural language processing. And all their system was trying to understand the text and then make a representation of it and do intelligent search on these texts.
All that was back in 1980s and early 90s.
This was around early 90s, yes.
I think it would be interesting for the people to know how much of a leap we have taken so far in technology. So the students who are doing AI today and students who are doing AI then, other than consoles, what languages you were using, or do you had to book your computer for 1 hour on the whole day?
Yes, the first system I used was IBM's famous System 3. And it has only 64K memory. So when it was working, there was a lamp on top of it, which was writing like think. It was blinking.
Yes.
So you know how fast it can process the input. This was on PDP computers.
Okay.
PDP was famous for their mini computers. It was a PDP-11, and it had a whole bunch of consoles that you could use for input and output and things like that. But I worked in IBM's, for example, System 370, and then VM, this sort of mainframes from IBM at that time as well.
Yeah. So again, was there any specific language you were a master in, or
yeah, I used to work on PL1 at that time. So this system was developed in PL1. PL1 is a distinct language now. Only remaining of it is in Oracle as a PLSQL, or in Postgres as a PGSQL. These variations of PL1 are still remaining and working fine, but the language itself has died out.
So in the absence of laptop, I mean, how much are you spending in the lab, or were these consoles available all the time to do the programming the way students do it today?
Of course, now you had to book them and go there and work, you know. So we had to actually, at that time, we wouldn't jump on writing programs on the console. So we would design everything on a paper. We would work a lot more on the algorithms and this sorts of thing, and then we would program it on the paper. We make sure that it's working on paper. Then we would go to the computer and start typing, because the computer time was limited. But now you have laptop. You think on your laptop instead of thinking on paper, and that's why you have more bugs.
Okay, so you did your first job, and then when was the time when you moved to the academia and the teaching?
After we spent 10 years in US. After that we came back to Iran first, and then I was hired as a faculty in University of Tehran. So I worked there for about 3 years, and then after that we moved to Dubai and I worked for University of Wollongong.
Okay, so ever since you are with the University of Wollongong?
Yes, for 20 years now.
Wow. Yes. 20 years. So you have actually seen both University of Wollongong developing in front of you and Dubai developing in front of you.
Exactly. I have seen like 3 campuses of University of Wollongong.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the old news online, and it says that you went out to some beach with the staff and you met few jellyfishes there. Yes. That was actually in the news.
Yes. So the campus that I joined was in Jumeirah, and there was a beach behind it, and that beach used to be called Wollongong Beach.
Oh, okay.
And the student had parties there and events in the beach and things like that. And I used to go actually swimming after my classes. That was the fun time of Dubai. So things were very relaxed.
Yeah. So we moved to the new campus of Wollongong in Block 5 and 15.
Block 5 first, and then we got to Block 15, and then we got Block 14, and then we are in here.
So this means that the Jumeirah campus was small for the...
Yes. We keep growing, and as we grew, we got bigger and bigger campuses.
Okay, so we still have one plot empty next to the Heritage campus. Maybe we can,
Yes, get one more building. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Now, looking at the numbers, I think we can. So, my first introduction with you was you standing next to a robot like this, and your picture was there. So I said, okay, this is my friend. He's going to be my best friend. No, coding, pure coding. You did not mention anything about robotics when you were doing PhD.
In my PhD, I was studying AI, not robotics.
Yes.
So my specialty is in knowledge representation, reasoning, natural language processing, and this sorts of things. So I'm in soft side of AI. But robotics is my passion. I like robots, and I like to teach AI using robots to the student. Even at one point, I was teaching programming using robots to students.
Yes.
Because it makes things to come alive, and somehow robots are exciting to everybody.
Yeah, they are. So, I'll ask you a good old question that everyone
Yes.
have asked, discussed a lot on social media, that should we be concerned about this artificial intelligence and machine learning?
Yeah, of course, why not?
No, what I mean, should we be afraid of it?
We should be afraid of a lot of things. Like, to me, AI is one of 3 things that can make us extinct.
Okay.
Right. The other thing is genetics.
Yes.
Genetics also can go out of hand and create, irreversible damages to us.
Mm-hmm.
Also, all these viruses and experiments that they do with viruses, that also could go out of hand. And so AI is next to this genetics and viruses in terms of damage that it can do if it goes out of hand. And it's not unimaginable. We are already seeing a lot of movies and excitement in Hollywood and things like that. And some of them are not that unreal. We can relate to some of them, that why things can go wrong. But what can affect us is not like always like killer robots are killing us and things like that. It could be misuse of AI.
Yes.
That's more dangerous and more near future for us than killer robots that would fight against us and things like that. For example, imagine an HR system.
Yes.
Right now you apply for a job, definitely the first pass through your CV is going to be a computer program. That would go through, screen your application, and those only pass through this program would be looked at by an HR person, which is about 10% of the applications and things like that. Now, the other 90% will get a rejection letter and then ends in here. No harm done, they apply for another job. Now we are moving to connecting all the systems together. So now let's say that you have all the HR systems, they are talking to each other, they're sharing information, right? Which makes sense, because if this guy is not eligible for this job, there are a lot of jobs similar to this that he's not eligible to. Why spend too much time re-screening the same person? So they can share their rejection list or success rates as well. So what would happen then? Very simply, after a while, then you end up with people who are in many rejection lists, and they become unemployable because some programs decided that they're not fit for one job or 2 jobs and things like that. So then we end up with decisions made by machines for people that affects them for their whole life. Some people become successful people that wherever they apply, they get a job because in the past they have got more jobs or passed through more things. And some people, they apply even they won't screen because they are in the list. So this sort of thing can actually is more dangerous and more imminent than killer robots. A lot of things in organizations are becoming automated. And as they become automated, a lot of decisions are made by machines through these programs. And programs, no matter how smart they have bugs, and their decision making is different from the way we make decisions. So for example, in HR example, it's not that uncommon that you look at a candidate who is not qualified for a job, but you decide that there's a spark in his eyes when he's talking. I like this guy. I think his CV or the way he's presenting himself is not right. He needs an opportunity to show himself. And then you give them the job and they shine and all this. Machines don't see the spark in people's eyes.
Absolutely.
So that sort of thing would be completely gone when machines start making more and more decisions. Now imagine a city. In a city, you need planning for the city based on the data available about the city, which machines can easily take over. You need to have strategies of developing the cities, and machines can easily take over strategizing about how you can grow a city more rationally than people. And then they can manage the resources of the city even better and more rationally without any prejudice. So machines can take over this, and we only be feeding the machines with information, and then you follow the decisions that are making. So in that case, who is running the city? Are we working for machines, or machines are working for us? So that is the question that we would be facing pretty soon, when the more and more automations comes in, more and more AI comes into the picture. So after a while, you don't know who is working for who. Are we satisfying criteria required by some machines about how we live, or actually they are following what we want them to do for us? So that's more imminent than any major threats from the machines.
Well, to be honest, while you were expanding on this concept, I realized that we are in the middle of the problem already then, because many people are relying on this tool.
Yes.
I know one or two friends from different companies who are actually doing the same thing what you are saying. So this means that it's already happening, and we, just like global warming, no one is looking at this problem.
Yeah, that's an imminent problem. That is what is going to become bigger and bigger, because more and more AI gets integrated into our lives, and what decision making, it takes over the companies and things like that. So at some point, that line between who is the master, who is the slave, would be really blurry. So, and that's not really good, because again, the way we make decisions is different from the way machines are making decisions. They're optimizing. We're not always optimizing, and we have other reasons to do things that are not even optimal, but they are good decisions anyway.
The recent specializations that you introduced, if you can, just take some that one was.
So you want to know that what is the good majors to study for students?
Yes, from the computer science, and what trends are going now.
Well, if we look at the employment trends, because most of the families and most of the people are interested in employment.
Yes.
So that's why we always follow the employment trends to see that, for example, what are the good jobs in US, in Europe, in Australia, and then we make recommendations based on that. The other way is that what I will say to the students is that regardless of what employment opportunities are there, go for your passion. If you are passionate about anything, you would be successful in it, regardless of what the job market is. And if you are not passionate about something, no matter how good jobs are there, you are not going to be good at it.
So if a student comes that I'm passionate about being chef, you will tell him, let's go.
Go do something else. If you are, why you want to be a bad chef?
Or maybe he can introduce some automation in manufacturing, I don't know.
No, but the first thing to me is passion. I like what I'm doing. I like studying AI. I still study AI. I like teaching it. I like doing experiments. And I enjoy it. I don't get bored from it. So you don't want to be in a situation when the job is your only day job and you are looking at your watch to become 5 o'clock so you can go home and do something else, and you don't want to think about your job. You want to be your job, be your passion as well, or related to your passion, something that you don't mind doing it. You like to do it. That's the first thing. But that aside, if you want to go for a job, there are two majors now in computer science that they are doing very well in terms of job market. One of them is security. The other one is about AI, data science, machine learning, and these sorts of things. Security are very secure jobs. Why? Because we have hackers.
Yeah.
We love our hackers.
Yes.
They create employment. Because of them, all these security jobs are there to stay. And they would be around for a long time. We need to secure our resources, our computers, systems, networks. So security jobs are safe if someone is interested in security. And the other thing is AI, because we want to introduce AI to everything.
Yeah.
We want to have, why? Because AI is about efficiency, doing things better, in a smarter way, in more automated, less involved with people, right? And machine learning, which is a part of AI. So anything related to this is also a good field, because there are a lot of systems have to be converted to this. And we can see the effect of AI easily. A few months ago, I think ChatGPT was introduced.
Yes.
In a few months, it has changed everything. That's the effect that AI has industry. But ChatGPT, the way it is now, is not good enough for industry. We need actual people who know how to integrate this ChatGPT into real systems.
Yes.
ChatGPT is nice if it takes over your HR department, for example. So it can interview candidates for you, do the selection for you, so you do less work there. ChatGPT is good if it takes over your customer service, and then it talks to the customers, follows them up, and things like that, right? So that's why all these jobs related to AI and machine learning, they are good jobs, and they would be there because we have to make things more and more automated and smart. And as we go, the speed of introduction of new technologies in AI would be more and more. And as we have more technologies, we would need more people to integrate it in more aspects of life.
So, other than AI, what are the other streams that we introduced recently?
We have game development. We actually revamped our game development major. For example, right now, AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality are really important. For example, in industry now, an engineer can go and point his device, for example, a mobile or a tablet, at a broken pipe or broken equipment, and then he can actually pop up a manual and videos and guidelines on how to fix it.
Okay.
Right? So that is really important, and we have added that to our game development major. We revamped it. Now it's much leaner and better. And in our game development, we are covering both games on mobiles with Unity and games on consoles using Unreal Engine. And the other thing is that game development is not just about game. It's, for example, could be about simulation. For example, nowadays they build a tall building. First they build this digital version, and then when every decision is made and they're sure that everything is fine, then they can move on and build the actual physical version.
That's part of what?
Game development. We call it serious games.
Serious games. But don't you think architects are doing it already for decades or a few years at least, where they develop the whole system first before going to
but now they can actually see the whole building, play with it, move it around and things like that, like a game. They can turn it around in every angle, move the floors, put them back together. You know, experiment with different ways of setting things, you know.
Yeah, with the Industry 4.0, I was looking at one of the equipment that actually we are interested in, where you can put this magic goggle on and you can actually walk in the whole factory. You can touch every machine and press it on and off and do the whole process and load it, unload it, and all that thing, which is quite magical. I think, as you said, this is what you can do. That's a whole different dimension. So basically, you can do the whole work just in, I don't know, maybe 1 meter by 1 meter square, and you can experience and learn so many.
For example, that applies to surgeries. You can do remotely do surgeries using VR goggles. You can run a factory from a distance by just VR goggles, as if you are there. So
absolutely, yeah. I went to this Zahra Hospital.
Yes.
In 2017, I had a surgery, and while they were taking me to this operation theater, I saw the robot that they can actually use. So I actually wanted them to use, but it was covered nicely with plastic. The way mothers cover things that they take out when the guests come. So it was nicely covered. I said, okay, maybe next time. Maybe they're not trained enough. That's great. So what is the trend? I mean, we have few majors: artificial intelligence.
Another new thing we are introducing is a master program called digital transformation.
Yes, that's. I was actually looking forward for that.
Digital transformation is a very unique master program that you can't find something similar to it definitely not in this country, and even in Europe or US. There are very few programs similar to it, because most of the time when there are masters in digital transformation, they are looking at it from management perspective. Our program is from the technical perspective. So in this Master of Digital Transformation, we are covering all the technologies that actually helps in developing your organization or moving your organization to Industry 4. And the other nice thing about it is that a whole bunch of subjects there, they have two versions. They have developer version and the management version. So students can choose that whether they want to get too technicals on it, in a technical level, do the lab and things like that, or they just want to know it in a managerial level, just get familiar with the technologies, how they apply and things like that. But they actually don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to do the technical part of it. So which opens these doors for a lot of different type of students.
Naturally, the question would be, what is the difference then? Okay, the student who is doing the management part of digitalization, how it is different from MITM?
No, from MITM, because this covers the technology, still is covering technology. For example, it talks about blockchain, IoT, data science, and this sorts of things. So it covers the technology, security. It covers the technology. It's still about technology. It still has labs, but they are not in depth. In the developer versions, they are more in depth on that. So you actually have to do a few implementation yourself.
Can you give me a couple of names of the courses that you're offering that are unique?
Yes, it has. I think from my memory, there is one subject about Industrial 4 and strategy. There's courses in the core about AI, data sciences, security, IoT, blockchain.
I got a bit of idea. So basically, as you said, that this is the course that involves labs. So it's more like a Masters of Science or technical Masters instead of the management Masters that we already have in business or MEM, for example.
The nice thing about this is that we developed this with collaboration with IBM.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yes. And we have option. So far, IBM has made promises that for some of our theses, students might be able to do them in IBM facilities with their researchers and staff and things like that. and IBM has many facilities around the world, which is quite good. So it has been developed in collaboration with industry.
Yeah, so
IBM.
and of course, this collaboration of thesis can turn into internship or full-time employment.
It could,
if someone
yes.
notices you. Recently, I have met one student who was there presenting his project to a guy from drone industry, and he was hired on the spot for internship.
Wow, nice.
And I think he joined already, and he told me that what he's doing. I don't know if I should say it, but I mean, I did not sign NDA, so there's a sensor that is worth maybe $20,000, and they are trying to develop similar kind of sensor using $2,000 and a good internee. So I think if the people see the opportunity,
yes.
the employers, that okay, the potential, I think they would hire. So I think that is very.
That's our goal, to expose our students to projects in industry and expose industry to our students.
Yeah, so once the students are introduced to the industry, okay, fine, they did very well, very good coding, they are very good ethical hackers, and they got hired.
Yes.
What is your advice that how should they further their career, how they can climb the ladder? So it should at some point of time they should think about doing some management to become a manager and a director, or just by coding can you climb the ladder?
Depends on the people's career paths, right? So there is this general advice that yes, you go to industry, you work for a few years, and then you have to do, for example, an MBA and things like that. So you get to know the management side, and then you can do more managerial things. And there are majors also, like a Master of IT Management or Master of Engineering Management, that they do the same thing but more technical, made for the engineers and IT people and things like that. Yeah, that is one path, but for each person is different. Do you really need to have a master in a management, or a few online courses would be enough, or a few certificate? That's a decision that each person has to take for themselves based on their situation. And also their career path. For example, if someone want to move, then being in a managerial position could be restricting them from movement. Being more technical is more movable, because there's more need for the technical people. It's easier for them to move than a manager to want to move to another managerial position. So these sorts of things are there. Everyone has to look at their own situation and then decide which path is better for them.
So other than that, this was the professional advice. You are in university, different institutes for good 2 decades or more than 2 good decades, and you see every year fresh faces filled with hope and spark and all those questions. What advice would you give to the students about the student life? Should they sleep more? Should they make more friends, or should they go out more? Something?
Actually, on last night we had open house, and I gave this advice to a new student that we are entering undergrad, and we all had fun in our undergrad. So undergrad is not just about studying, but you have to be able to do time management. You have to have a time for study, a time for fun, a time for your passion and exploring new things. So, and for example, in our university, we have more than 100 different student clubs. And they cover everything from religion to belly dancing and Bollywood dancing. So there are people who are passionate about this, and then why not? They have to explore themselves. They're coming from high school, and the university is a bridge between them to enter to the society. They have to first discover themselves, their strengths and weaknesses. So I always recommend to them that do your studies, but put time also for joining these clubs based on your interest, or just sign up go a few times, see if it's for you or not. You meet people, you learn how to deal with people. To work, you need technical skills, you need soft skills.
Yeah.
How you develop your soft skills? By interacting with people, and these clubs, student clubs, they provide you with that opportunity. As long as you know that which one is the priority, which one is the secondary. You can't spend too much time there, but for example, if you look at the president of all these student clubs, they are all high distinction students. They're all on a scholarship. They manage to do their studies, they manage to run student clubs, they manage to do a lot of charity works. Each one of them does a lot of charity work. And they still have fun. Why? Because they know how to manage their time. And time management is also another skill that you need in your life to be successful. You always have to do this. Otherwise, my recommendation is do your studies and do other things as well, because you have, in undergrad you're exploring yourself, you're looking to see who you are, what you can do, what is your strength, what is your weakness, and this sorts of thing. You have to develop your soft skills, and that is the opportunity there.
So in University of Oxford, talking about the societies, one of the staff member told me that we have a assassins club, and what they do essentially is that they will assassin each other, and how it works is that you just reach someone without him knowing, and then you go boom and he's assassin. That's the assassination club. Doctor, thank you so much. God
No
bless you.
problem.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.